Okay, so I removed the powertrain from the frame, and what I'm going to do now is put some of this silicon conformal coating just on the ESC connections and on the pigtail connections and on the bottom as well. I'm going to do the same on the flight controller soldering, just to stop any sort of moisture getting in there. I used to use spray for this, but that's problem with spray is it goes everywhere, and in particular it goes in the SD card slot, gums that up, goes in these JST connection slots. So I've tended to just kind of use silicon conformal coating just on the sort of exposed areas. Now this is pretty noxious stuff. You can't seem to really buy it very easily anymore, but I've managed to get hold of some. And I won't be doing it in here because of the fumes, but it works really well. I was also told that it was best to use acrylic because you could solder through that, but I've actually had no problem soldering through silicon, and actually silicon is a lot easier to work with. It's much more durable and flexible. I find acrylic sort of cracks and isn't so good. So the other thing I'm going to do is put a piece of heat shrink on the tracer connection. You can see I've put these long Immortal T antenna on now, and I've popped off these two wires from this plug using a pin so that I could push them out the front of the heat shrink, and then I'm going to fold the antenna back, so I think it'll all fit. I have to say I'm not terribly happy with where this has ended up. I suspect if I wanted it to look much prettier, what I probably would have done is extended the wires on this plug, but that would mean crimping new wires and yeah, just a lot of hassle. So we'll see. Hopefully this has been the quickest way of doing it. We'll see how it works out in terms of assembling the whole thing together. So I'm going to shrink this heat shrink, put on the conformal coating, and see where we are. Okay, so that's the conformal coating on. You can't really see it, but I promise you it's on there. And I've heat shrunk the tracer module. So now I've got to do a little dance to get everything nicely installed in the frame, and the dance is required because the tracer module needs to go under the pigtail, and fortunately these Immortal T antenna will just slide through the hole in the middle there. I had thought that I was going to have to put them on afterwards, and heat shrink it with it on the frame, but that I'm not going to have to do that. So I'm going to slide those in, position that underneath, pop the gummies on the ESC, and then connect screw in the motors using the 10mm, the M3 10mm bolts that come with the kit, and because I'm doing this for real this time, I'm going to use some blue thread lock, proper blue thread lock, because I always like to thread lock the motors. They're the bits that get the most vibration and most likely to come off. You don't want motors coming off in flight. So I'm going to do all that now. Okay, so a bit of a minor snafu with the design here. There's simply not enough clearance underneath these pigtails for the tracer module to go. And I've played around with a number of different things, and I think perhaps the easiest thing is going to be for me to put it, basically zip tie it to the top of the VTX module here. The antenna can still go out the bottom through this other hole, and they're long enough to still come a decent way up the arms, which I think is, I mean, probably similar distance up the arms as would have been from the other one. So I think it's okay. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, even on a big frame like this. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? I can't get the tracing module sideways. There's not quite enough room for everything to fit in. I've tried pushing the VTX back, and then there's not enough clearance for the MMCX cable to get in there. So I think on top of the VTX transmitter is probably the best place for it, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, well, that seems to have worked. So I've I don't know whether you can see in there, but I've zip tied the tracer module on top of the VTX module, and the Immortal T's are coming out this hole at the bottom here, and I can run these onto the frame there, put back in the VTX antenna, and I've screwed down the ESC, and so next job is to just secure the flight controller, secure the motors down, secure the antenna, plug in a few bits and bobs like the camera and the GPS, and then I should be able to put the lid on. Very, very important thing. So under here, one of these is the barometer. I can't see close up, but it's the one with the hole in it. So you look with the black one with the hole in it. And I'm going to put a big piece of foam, maybe either that or that. Sometimes the foam that comes with the motors is quite good, between the ESCs and the baro, because it's important not to get prop wash over the baro, because that really affects the height. Hopefully the foam won't melt on the ESC, we'll see, but I think that should be okay. And then I can put the lid on, and it'll be ready to start tuning. Okay, and there we go, the foam is in, the flight controller is on. I've fixed the LEDs down with some double-sided sticky foam tape. GPS is plugged in, camera's plugged in, so all that remains to do is zip tie the antenna to the frame and stick down the motor wire tidies, and then I'll put the lid on, and then should be good to go. Okay, and there we've got the lid on. Put the GoPro mount on. I've zip tied the Immortal T's to the frame, and I've put a zip. So the Immortal T's there's a sort of, they're designed to take a zip tie, and I've left a bit on the end, and I'm going to put some shrink wrap around the antenna and the zip tie just to give it a bit of strength. And I deliberately put those on the back because the motors will turn inwards, and so if there's any chance of sort of prop damage, it's going to come on this side rather than this side, so that's why I put the zip ties going that way. I also see I've made mistakes. I haven't put these are the sort of little landing pads, and the motor bolts need to go through those, so I'll have to redo all of these 16 of these bolts, but shouldn't take too long. And there we go, and tomorrow I'll start configuring it, which should be fun. There we go. Heatshrink on, landing pads on, ready to be configured and tuned. Should be fun.